In 2020, Joe Biden took the blue wall of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Do you think it's possible that this year those three states won't go the same way? Is there a reality where one breaks off and goes Trump, two break off and go Trump, and one goes Harris? What do you think that looks like?
It's a good question. It's entirely possible. I mean, the last two elections. I mean, these three states have all been fairly close together, but the margins, the vote margins by which Trump won them in 2016 and then Biden won them in 2020, were a little bit different. I think in Michigan it was something like 1.2 points that Joe Biden won it by in 2020, and in Wisconsin it was closer to like half a point. So, when you're talking about margins this small, any small thing can tip one of these states one way or the other. I mean, you think about a state like Michigan, for example. I think nobody's really clear at this point just how big a deal the uncommitted block of voters in Michigan, specifically in Dearborn and Wayne County, is. How big is it, and how much of an impact could that make, depending on how close these margins are? But let's say it's a big enough contingent to make a difference. You could see potentially Michigan just barely flip to Trump, and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania stay in Harris's column in a really close race. It's it's somewhat likely, I would suspect, that all three will probably vote the same way. They have for many years. I think it's stemming back to 1992 or even 88, where all three of these states have kind of voted in unison, including flipping to Trump in 2016 and then flipping back to Biden this time. But when you're talking about a razor thin margin and a very close race, it's entirely possible that they may not all break the same way.
Obviously, we're going to be keeping our eye out on all 50 states, but on election night, especially these seven, when you're looking at them, is there a specific, and I know the math will shake out the way it does, but is there a specific state within these seven that is a must win for each candidate?
Yeah, I would say the two that I'm looking at are Pennsylvania and Georgia. I think Pennsylvania, a lot of analysts consider Pennsylvania to be the tipping point state. It's just so big. The polls have it so close. It has been in Democrats' column for the most part outside of 2016 for several decades. Harris will have to win Pennsylvania. If she's not winning Pennsylvania, she still has a path. But because of how many electoral votes are at stake there, I think it makes it very, very difficult for her at that point. And the same thing for Trump in Georgia. Georgia was among the three states, the other two being Arizona and Wisconsin, last time around, that shifted the election over to Biden. And it also carries a large number of electoral votes. So if Trump is not winning there, I'm skeptical that it will be called on election night. But if it is called on election night and breaks for Harris, it's going to be a little bit of, there probably is going to be some panic setting in at Trump's headquarters.